And we've made a few steps towards a collaborative approach with our Zambian schools. But with the current situations and the latest lockdown, we've lost quite a lot of communication, I would say. So we're on a bit of a pause. Pause number 45.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we know them, we know our lovely schools, we know the heads, we know some of the teachers, but we haven't really moved that much further forward, really. But it's been lovely to get to know them.
Yeah. Thanks, Clarissa.
Yes.
Wonderful. And now I am apologising because we've got Sarah's and Susan's and all sorts of S's, and I never remember which is what. So, Mrs. Maples from Llandaff, what is your first name again?
I'm Sarah Jane.
That's Sarah Jane. I thought it was, but I didn't want to make a mistake.
That's right. Hi Maureen, hi everyone. I'm Sarah Jane from Llandaff City. We've been partnered with Mugrameno Primary since 2012. Saloni Nzala is the head teacher there now, and Elias is the international leader and is our new link between the two schools. So I've been very fortunate to be out in Zambia. It was five times now. I'm hopefully going to be coming back to you again soon. I really hope so. Again, we started our global goal getters, and the children used lots of pupil voice to sort of drive that forward. And then obviously we were home learning again. So home learning took the driving seat. But we're back in school now, and so hopefully things will get moving again. And that's me.
Yeah, lovely, thank you. And it's not Sarah Jane, it's not Sarah, it's Susan, is that right?
Yeah, it's Suzanne, but
Suzanne, right, apologies, Suzanne.
To most things. Yeah, I'm Suzanne. I'm head of a faith school, of a Church in Wales school in Monmouthshire. Again, a very leafy suburb school, and we're linked with Kalela Primary, and Hansula is the link that I have there. And I think, like everybody, the current situation worldwide has put a little bit of a hold on all of our communications at the moment, but we had made a very good start, and things have slowed down a little bit. Yeah, it's the best way to say it, I think.
Well, yeah.
Why you put them on there?
Oh, I'm on my meeting now, Danny. We've got Frankie in the house, everybody. Helen, can I ask you to introduce yourself while I go and get this little one some squash? Oh, you need one. Come over here then.
Helen, you're on mute.
I put it on mute when I started and I forgot. Yeah, Helen Hoyle, head teacher at Hawardian Primary in Cardiff. And we're linked up with Ishuko Primary School, and Nelson Daka is our link with the school. We started off quite strongly, but yeah, things I haven't heard for a while.
Francis, are you able to put your camera on at all, Francis? Can you hear us, Francis?
It's turned to a white dot next to him. I don't know if that means he's in and out. Can you hear us, Francis? There might be a bit of a delay there. I have just started recording. So.
Can I?
Oh. No, I've started recording, folks. I hope that's okay, just so that I can share whatever we do discuss with everybody. Maybe Francis will come back in a second. Maureen, do you know any of the teachers in this project personally, kind of face to face?
Myself. Can I?
Say that again?
Please.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Okay, I just want to introduce myself. I want to say I'm Maureen Spotam-Lendema, and I've been to Cardiff.
Oh, great.
Oh, golly.
When I was a head teacher, my school was partnered with Radna.
Oh,
yes.
Radna
And I
Cluster.
was Radna, yes.
Oh.
I I'm just sad that from the time I left, I think the partnership is not strong with Shikoswe Primary School in Kafue. So, yeah, when the partnership started, I was working in Kafue, and I started all those 10 schools in Kafue. There was Grameno, there was Chiawa, there was Shikoswe, there was which other one? Munkolo, there was Kafue Day Secondary School, there was Kafue Boys Secondary School. Yeah, I can't remember the others, but I was one of the engineers. And at that time, when the first group came from Wales, there was Susan, there was, I've forgotten the names, but in the team that welcomed them and took them round. We went to Livingston, we went to places. When I see people from Cardiff, I feel like I'm home. Because when I came there, they took me to the Cardiff Castle. They took me to the beach. I went to the museum. So I still remember Cardiff very well.
Oh, that's wonderful.
When was it, Maureen? What year?
I'm working at the office. I'm working in the inspectorate in another district, in another province. That is how now I'm no longer in any of the partnerships. But then, because of the experience that I had with the partnerships when I was in Shikoso, because I kept it alive, Banda put me in the team which is coordinating partnerships in Zambia. So I'm actually coordinating all the partnerships that are in Zambia together with Brian and Kavika. So that's how come I'm in this group. Thank you.
Oh, Maureen, that's wonderful. So, did Akeem give you the details from the British Council?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Normal. Yes. Yes. I'm in the group and I follow whatever is happening in the group.
Oh, that's super helpful. We didn't know that. So hopefully when the teachers do come back after their holiday, you can really help support them making some steps forward and getting them back in contact with their partners and planning together. Because we do want things to be as collaborative as possible. But when there's no communication, the Welsh schools just kind of get on with their activities and then it becomes really separate, and we don't want that. As you know, it's so much better when it's shared. I don't know if anyone can really remember the action plan or where we were at with the action plan. Can you remember, Clarissa?
Good question, really. I think we were at the stage of we'd finished our training, which was great. We'd finished our training. We were looking then at working within our own schools, I think, to continuing to develop the pupil voice. And then our next steps, I've got this, I was looking at this the other day, our next steps very much were waiting to collaborate with our Zambian schools to see how we could set up a collaborative project. And we're at that sort of what do you call it? You know, when you just go round. We're not getting any further forward, and unfortunately, we haven't set up that collaborative project because we haven't had those discussions. So we're all keen to do it, and we've also written our partnership agreement. That's another real positive. But in terms of the spring action plan, we're no further forward, other than we've got some training coming up now with TLC, looking at creative contributors, thinking about our entrepreneurial way perhaps that we can develop this project. So that's pleasing, but again, it's just Welsh schools. So it is, as you say, Sharon, we're developing ourselves as much as we can, but we are lacking that collaborative project.
Yeah. I think we've got Upper Rumney here now as well. Hello, my lovely.
Oh, hi, Claire.
How are you doing, Claire? Do you want to quickly say hi?
Hi, everybody.
We have Maureen from Zambia, who is in the education office team. She's going to help support the partnerships. And Frances is here, or was here, has disappeared. Frances isn't your partner, Claire?
No,
No.
no. We Margaret is our link teacher.
Right. Okay. Well, remind me, sorry, Clarissa, the date for the TLC course is going to be mid-May, I think, isn't it?
Yes, well, we got in a pickle with that. Thank goodness Helen was on the ball with with the
Oh, we put
That
April
doesn't happen
dates
very
in,
often.
yeah.
I was so grateful for Helen's eyes. I had so much going on. I'd missed that. So we were booking the day that we already had. But yes, it's now early May. Paul had to change the date. Yeah.
Okay, and that's going to be 2 subsequent weeks,
Yeah.
I think, isn't it? I've got it written down, okay.
5th of May,
Okay.
I think.
Well, realistically, what is worth thinking about, because your partner's on holiday for the next 2 weeks anyway, is using that course as a little bit of a jumping off point, you know, so starting to think, okay, maybe what creative activity skills, learning through creativity, teaching creativity, what types of things can you do in your school that then hopefully we can share with partners. If we can arrange a meeting quite quickly after that course when everyone's back, that we've got some solid ideas. I'll give you an example. So another provider does a very similar course, because the materials are all from the British Council Core Skills Programme anyway, which is something we can share with partners. And a lot of the Zambian schools are doing that core skills course, but it talks through the different types of creativity and how to teach to ensure that providing those opportunities for your learners. And so one cluster in Cardiff that's linked with Lesotho decided to just do a very simple kind of problem solving activity with their schools. One was using artwork from Lesotho as a starting point, so using pattern and tessellation from their blankets. So there was still that global kind of link dimension to it, but it was very much about the learners deciding how do you make these tessellations and how do you use materials. They were using coloured card, but it worked so nicely and it looked great. She shared it with her partner in Lesotho, who then said, oh, actually my learners could do that, but using crisp packets. So now those schools have only just opened, so that's going to be their first task, is doing similar patterns but using found materials, and they're going to video each other so that they can share the learning process and then identify for the teachers, examples of the critical thinking, the discussion, the perseverance, those types of skills that come up. And those are the types of things that you'll be talking about in the course, which anyway, is just spotlighting some of those key learning behaviours. Something else another partner in that cluster was doing then was giving the problem for the children to make a water tower, so making something that could contain the water, and they've only got certain materials to do it. So her school and her partner school are going to do the same, and again share the videos and create a dialogue around that. So that's just very much about collaborating in a really simple way and kind of reciprocating, which hopefully then with that dialogue they will turn to their next stage, which will start leading towards the project that leads to an action. And their SDG is SDG 13, so they're going down the climate action route. So it's a bit more tangible than you guys, I think, and that's sometimes a little bit hard, but your SDG can be explored through pedagogy and process, so that you could still do something like recycled materials, or doing something tangible that links into something in your school. But the big part of what you're sharing between your teachers is all about the process and understanding SDG 4 and how the pupils can lead that learning,
Okay, yeah, that's a nice idea, Sharon. Maybe that's something we can ponder and think through as we go through the course. Yeah,
it's just, I think because of the timing, it's worth using that as your hook to kind of think, okay, let's pull something out of this, and there'll be a lot of discussion through that course, and I think it is only you guys on it, so that you can really go, okay, actually let's flag up these points, these skills, and let's see what we can do, and hear from other people in your partnerships then to see what they want to do with it. I think ultimately the big divide is resources, and that's always a really, really interesting point of reflection, where your learners will have the plethora of materials in their school that they can choose from, and you know, you're always talking about minimizing waste and reusing, and whereas, you know, partners in Zambia are going to have to find materials to use, they won't have coloured paper, coloured cards, coloured pens, etc. necessarily to be able to do a creative activity, but they will find inventive and innovative and entrepreneurial ways to do it. Francis has come back in now, I think. Hopefully you can hear us, Francis. Is it working for you?
That should be Francis Chirofia, isn't it?
Yes, yes. Yeah, I'm not, usually, you know, you get a little blue ring around somebody when they're active, and that hasn't happened, so there might be a connection issue.
Yeah, some places have a problem with internet.
Yeah, yeah. Claire, how have you had much contact with your partner through these strange days?
No, we haven't had anything since before Christmas. Our focus though for this term is on the creative enterprising contributors. So we're looking at doing 2 projects. At the moment it's just my class this we're focusing on, but the whole school is going to focus on, they're going to do a project before half term, a project after half term, all based on that sort of purpose, and we're going to try and link it to, we've been doing like an area each of eco schools, and I focused on global citizenship because it links with the connecting classrooms. So we're going to sort of do that, and we've looked at, we haven't started yet, we're starting next week, but we're going to look at doing something like maybe fundraising, but to have a bit of a global impact, doing something like with the UNICEF where you can like buy a chicken or buy a cow or something like that. And so, and we're going to maybe look at if there's possible links that we can do there with Zambia, and how we could get maybe the school on, not on board, but sort of keep them informed, or write some emails or some letters and just sort of make us few little links that way.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, because the second project is going to be more up to the children and what they want to do, and we're going to sort of lead the first one really, so to give them a few ideas.
The whole notion of campaigning is really interesting, because that does take that pupil leadership and involves all the skills that are needed, and you've got to be creative. So, you know, you've got to have the innovative idea to capture an audience and be able to design merchandise or social media campaigns, all of those things to raise awareness. And you know, if that linked in with anyone's topics for next term, or this term even, or you've got half and half really, haven't you? You know, that is invaluable. If you're not doing that in any other curriculum areas, that could be you know, something that brings all your work together, so that all of you are working on some sort of campaign, but you might have different themes, you might have different approaches, you might link it to looking at different charities, but analysing the way a charity campaigns is really, really interesting, because what it does is bring up all the questions and assumptions that we have about the global south and the global north, and who should be giving who to what, and who should be learning from each other, and how do you promote the work of a charity but with respect and solidarity. So there's so many really interesting things that could come up in that, especially if you're working with some of the older pupils in school. So yeah, please share that. You know, if you've got something that is linking into the project anyway, roll with it. Share the materials, because I think it might help steer some of the other schools with an idea then, because I think everyone's just paused completely, you know, and you're not thinking about it, because like you said, Clarissa, you haven't had the conversation because you want it to be as equitable as possible. But I'm sure if Francis can hear us and Maureen, you know, the notion of fundraising and campaigning is a huge thing in Zambia, you know, and so it'd be really interesting to see the perspectives from that side, and how they you know, how do you inform people of things? How do you raise awareness? You could look back at COVID and see how the government has approached it. What NGOs are in Zambia? How do you know what information is good, correct? You know, so you could, there's so many things that could be explored there.
Sharon, Claire, you've made me think. You've promoted my thinking now, because I'm back in a classroom at the moment. I'm in year 3. I'm covering a maternity leave, and our context at the moment is healthy minds, healthy bodies, and we've got back into the school garden, and we're Helen, you'll know our school garden and how it was a garden but really isn't a garden anymore, but we're breathing a bit of life into it, and we've planted lots of seeds, and we planted lots of vegetables and potatoes and carrots. It's been absolutely fab. And we're looking to turn that into an enterprise of some kind with the children. We're going to sell the herbs and the sweet peas and this, that and the other. But actually, Claire, you've made me think there. Would it be seen as equitable if we fundraised for our Zambian school? Or Sharon, I need to go. I'm so sorry.
Oh, no worries. That's okay. Clarissa's in the middle of an interview process, so she's got a call coming back through, but she might jump back in. But that does lead me straight on to the question of money, because we have funding for the resources. And I need to look back at your application, but because you're a big cluster, I think that Emily would have put in for 2 projects, which would be £1,000 split between all the schools. So if that's the case, then there is funding for these kind of campaign projects, for buying merchandise, printing, laminating. If you're going to do school gardens that need, you know, to create a little shop front that's going to be selling the seeds to parents, or a summer fair, you know, all of those things, there's funding for that. If things can't be done face to face and it's more virtual, it's a bit harder to spend the money. But for practical things in your school, money can be sent to the Zambian partners to do the same. But what we need to do is really, I would say by the end of May, that needs to be clear, so we can get the money over to partners and they can buy what they need, so that, you know, for you guys, you need to have done a lot of that project by the end of the summer term, so that you know, the money will need to be in process, kind of thing. For the autumn term, then it's supposed to be about action. So if the project, you know, a lot of activities and learning and the creativity, entrepreneurial side is pupil action, but what you might have in the autumn term is much more about sharing the success and sharing the story, and something else might come out of it, which could then be the focus of that autumn term, hopefully quite virtual. There could be like an online celebration event we could do with all schools. If we can get data to your partners, there's no reason why they can't join, or send pre-recorded materials to have like a pupil voice conference between Wales and Zambia. You know, there'd be a really nice way to celebrate whatever each school has done, kind of thing. It's not impossible that. I had a 2-hour Zoom conference with Lesotho yesterday, and everybody managed to stay on the call for the whole time. And it worked because all the speakers had sent me their pre-recorded materials. So they were there and they were able to chip in and do questions and answers, but all the materials had already been made. So that actually could be a really nice celebratory event for this cluster at the end of it. Hard to imagine that at the moment, though. But you never know. We might be in some sort of normal by then. You never know, indeed. So any other ideas or questions that we can throw in the mix here? Any themes happening in the other schools for the summer term that could, you know, link into this? Because it is really about exploring an approach to the area of learning, isn't it? So we've got a new curriculum, Maureen, where all the schools are starting to readjust the way they do their curriculum planning. And so we've got this creativity and enterprise is a real key part of the skills that we want our learners to have. And so it's the cross-curricular way of teaching, but we're still in the process of experimenting ways to do that and and to choose topics and themes and skills that the pupils have a lot of say in as well, so that they contribute into the curriculum. So that, again, I think, that is really important to share with your Zambian partners, because that is very different to the curriculum there.
I think it's not all that different, because we are also moving in the skill way.
Yeah.
We are encouraging our skills to embed the skills. Other than just being a coordinator, I'm also a facilitator for British Council. So I facilitate all those core skills you are talking about. Like you are talking of creativity. That is one of the core skills that we are offering. And also communication and collaboration. So if you are finding it's a problem with our Zambian schools in communication and collaboration, I was just thinking, probably maybe we need to give them this skill so that when they have it, they can also pass it on. Because the skill that we have been doing most of the times was critical thinking and problem solving. I think most of the schools that you have that are partnered with you, they have undergone problem solving. It is only this system where we have maybe people moving from one school to another, probably maybe they trained, moved on. But still, as you are talking, I'm thinking, how can we maybe collaborate with Akim and the others and say, okay, maybe the schools in the partnership would need this skill. Can we have a quick training for them so that probably they can move together with the schools in Cardiff? I'm just thinking.
No, it's good, and something I've been pushing Akim to be clearer about who has done any of this training, because he said some, but you're right. It's too new for some schools if they haven't taken part. Sorry, there's a bit of noise. And so there needs to be that baseline activity that's given them the way in, so that they can then deliver that with their learners. Absolutely. Which I guess is, we're doing that here because we've booked onto the CPD course. So that really needs to be done quite soon in May, if possible, Maureen. So maybe you and I could both bombard Akim with a bit of a push on that.
Yes.
And give that chance. Yeah. Let me just share my screen. I've just got a quick timeline to share with you, just to frame it a little bit. And we have talked a little bit about money, but I'm going to have to find. That's strange. It's got a PowerPoint on there that's not open. Yeah, I'm going to have to find your application and see what the money situation is and share that with you afterwards. But can everybody see that? Can you see that slide, folks? Yeah. Okay. So I've already kind of talked about this, but if we go back to here, this slide is more for new partnerships, but I'm sharing it with current people because they are relaunching a little bit. And because of the situation that we're in, if you are veering away from your chosen SDG and dipping into another, that's okay, because things have to fit with what you are doing in school at the moment as well. So yeah, you guys are going to be doing this level 2 CPD, so this is all moving into May a little bit more, so that throughout May you can be really deciding what this pupil-to-pupil project could be. And then I said about the action in the autumn term. I need to delete the reciprocal visit. I don't think that's going to happen. But something that can happen, in addition to, like I said, about maybe a pupil conference, there could be wider CPD for your schools if you want that as well. So if there's anything that's come out of the CPD that you've done already, or there's anything Clarissa as the leader and myself could help roll out to your schools, or any other teachers, we can do that in the autumn term. And we need to think then also about the celebration. But I think maybe that idea of collaborating the celebration and the action together could be very good. This morning I was part of a Earth Day conference, and you know, it's a game changer now, isn't it, having the online element. So there were 14 schools across Carmarthenshire involved, and we had speakers, but then also they presented work that they've done on climate action, and they'd pre-prepared it. So they'd made news flash reports based on the different countries, and then they all went into breakout rooms and talked about what they've been doing and what their plans are for this term. And it was amazing. And I just thought, actually, there isn't that point, that way of sharing, you know, unless you're part of a certain project, unless you're part of eco schools. But then that doesn't always happen. So maybe that format would work for this project, because it is about quality education. And if we can have representatives from all partnerships on that event, that would be really good. I'm just thinking if there's anything here that I haven't mentioned. You know, a lot of you have already done the raising awareness of SDGs, established your pupil voice group, digging deeper into the core skills. We've chosen the area of skills that we're going to look at, but you might be more specific about that when you come to enterprise and critical creative thinking, and choosing a local action. Yeah, okay, that all we've kind of covered a lot of that already. Anything to throw in the mix there, folks? Food for thought. This session was about just food for thought, for sure. You know, it is just checking in, seeing that everybody is still working in their schools. They still are around. And I think it's a real blessing, Maureen, that you were here, because I can really use your support now to galvanize the troops on the other side to move forward. And so this is recorded. I'll send it out. So everyone who's not here, hello. We are still here, and we still are really keen. And if you have listened to what we've talked about, you know, we're looking at the core skills of creativity and enterprise moving forward with your partnerships, and maybe lead into some sort of online celebrating learning event in our autumn term, which is actually moving into your summer term then, I think. But that could be the final outcome of the project, which could be quite nice. So yeah, I think that's all I really needed to share with you all. If there isn't anything else that we want to talk about, we can knock off. And when we meet for the TLC course, we can arrange a follow-up then. Francis, are you there? Because I can see you in and out. Hello, hi Francis. You can hear us okay now?
Yes, I can hear you immediately.
Yes, we can. Yeah, we could see there were audio issues. How are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
We are good. We are good. We're all a little bit tired. It's been a crazy couple of weeks for us opening schools back up. We had our 2-week holiday a while ago. Say that again?
Are you able to get me?
I can hear you. Did you ask a question?
Yes, I just wanted to say something, but I'm trying to see if you can get me.
Yes, I can. Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. For some challenge.
Oh, it stopped now. It stopped.
In terms of entrepreneurship, issues to do with the garden, that would be very good for the partnership, because we can look at the MDG on the responsible production and consumption. That can go well with the gardening and entrepreneurship.
Yeah, you are very quiet, but I could catch that you were talking about responsible consumption and production.
Are you getting me?
A little bit. It's not great,
yeah.
But I heard you say about school garden and the SDG for responsible consumption and production, which I think is key, isn't it? And that would be a really good. Which school are you from, Francis?
At the moment, my school is not one of the partners, but I work with our team to coordinate school partnership on the copper belt. one of the regions in Zambia.
Okay, well, maybe that's something Maureen and Akeem and you and I could have a talk about and make a plan. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, I'm so glad you could join us. The audio isn't brilliant, but we'll use the WhatsApp group to move forward in our group plans, okay?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay,
If
thank
you can
you.
only share the slides that you are showing, if you can share them.
Yes, I will. Yeah, that's just a timeline really, but I'll share that to make sure everybody's got it. Okay. All right, guys. Well, let's finish. It's 4:30. Thank you for your time. I know you all are super busy and super senior in your roles, but hopefully you've got some cogs turning now. And when we meet for the course, we can really put some concrete plans in place. And Clarissa will be available to coordinate that a lot more then as well. Okay. But thank you very much. Nice to meet you, Maureen, and you, Francis. And we'll see you soon. Okay.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thanks,
Thanks, bye.
Oh, I'm sorry, Sharon. Just as I heard you say bye,
Oh, I'm still here.
I'm back off my phone call.